Today I'm going to discuss about classical encryption techniques in network security and cryptography fundamentals. So what are those techniques and what is the uh, objective of learning same? So in that manner, we will learn various encryption techniques, and like outcome could be the higher data security could be achieved. So what is basically symmetric encryption? Let's talk about the same. That is very simple term. What is symmetric encryption? What is basically symmetric encryption? As we all know, it is a technique that is used to secure the data, that is used to provide protection to the data that is being transmitted between two parties. So it is a technique or a type of encryption where only one key, that is secret key, it is used to both encrypt and decrypt information by electronic means. So by using symmetric encryption algorithm, data could be converted to a form that cannot be understood by anyone who does not process the secret key to decrypt it. So basically, symmetric keys are algorithms for cryptography that use the cryptographic keys. Now, what are basically cryptographic key? A key in cryptographic is the piece of information that is usually a string of numbers or letters that are stored in the file, which when processed through a cryptographic algorithm, it can encode or decode cryptographic data, and they can be used for both encryption and decryption in symmetric cryptography. So it is used for both encryption of the plain text. What is plain text? It means like unencrypted information pending input into cryptographic algorithm, usually encryption algorithm. So this usually refers to the data that is transmitted or stored unencrypted. So next is the decryption of the ciphertext. What is basically ciphertext? It is the result of the encryption that is performed on the plain text using an algorithm called a cipher. So ciphertext is also known as encrypted or encoded information because it contains a form of the original plain text that is unreadable. So the keys may be identical or they may be a simple transformation to a go between two keys. So the keys in practice represent a shared secret. What is shared secret? It is the piece of data that is only known to the parties that are involved. So in a secure communication. So this usually refers to the key of a symmetric crypto system. That shared secret can be a password, a passphrase, a big number, or an array randomly chosen bytes. So it could be shared secret between two or more parties that can be comparison to the public key encryption. That is also known as asymmetric key encryption. Now let's discuss about various types of symmetric encryption that could be there. It could be a conventional private key or single key. Sender or recipient share a common key. All classical encryption algorithms are a private key. It was only typed prior to invention of the public key in 1970s and by far more widely used technique. By far most widely used technique. So there are some basic terms that are associated with the symmetric key encryption. So what are those? Plain text. What is basically plain text? It could be a original message that is to be transferred from originator side. That is basically a sender. Next is ciphertext. It could be decoded message or coded message that is converted into some scrambled text. Next is cipher, algorithm for transforming plain text to ciphertext. Next is key, as I told you, information used in cipher known only to the sender or receiver. Next is encipher, that is concerned with encryption. Next is decipher, that is concerned with decryption. So encipher mean to say we are supposed to convert plain text to ciphertext, and decipher mean to say recovering ciphertext from the plain text. Next is cryptography. Cryptography means to say the study of encryption principles or methods that we are going to use while we are dealing with symmetric key encryption. Next is crypt analysis, that is code breaking, that is the study of principles or methods of deciphering ciphertext without knowing the key. Next is cryptology, that is the field of both cryptography and crypt analysis. Next is symmetric cipher model. You can have a look at the symmetric cipher model. What is the same? There could be a plain text that could be given to us, and we are supposed to feed that plain text to any encryption algorithm. For example, they have used the DES algorithm, whose function is to convert ciphertext 64-bit ciphertext into 64-bit plain text into 64-bit ciphertext by using 56-bit key. So there could be 16 rounds that could be associated with the same, and we are supposed to deal with the same. So there could be a secret key that is shared by a sender and recipient, and we are supposed to transmit the ciphertext. After transmitting the ciphertext, it could be decrypted by the shared key that is being shared between two parties, and the plain output is received, like plain text is retrieved. So this is the basic model of the symmetric cipher. Have a look at the same. We will discuss each and every term one by one. So there are certain types of symmetric key that we are going to use. What are those? Like symmetric key encryption can use either stream cipher or block cipher. If I am talking about stream cipher means to say, as the name implies, it is the symmetric key cipher where plain text digits are combined with the pseudo-random cipher digit stream, that is key stream. In a stream cipher, each plain text digit is encrypted one at a time with the corresponding digits of the key stream to give digits of the ciphertext stream. Next is block cipher. What is there in the block cipher? It is the deterministic algorithm that is operating on a fixed length group of bits called blocks. It uses an unvarying transformation, that is, it uses a symmetric key. So they are specified elementary components in the design of many cryptographic protocols and are widely used. So there are certain terms that are associated with stream cipher and block cipher. So what is basically stream cipher? So it encrypts the digits, that is typically bytes or letters, in substitution cipher or a message one at a time. Next is block cipher. It could take a number of bits and encrypts them as a single unit, that is padding the plain text so that it is the multiple of the block size. So DES is the example of the block size algorithm, and the advanced encryption standard algorithm that is approved by NIST. So what is basically advanced encryption standard algorithm? It is known as the specification for the encryption of electronic data using the US National Institute of Standards and Technology, that is NIST. So it uses 128-bit block, and 128-bit block is converted into 8 bytes, like 8 byte. Each data consists of 8-byte block. So next is how we are supposed to perform the implementation. Like examples, I already told you, like IDEA, DES, AES. Algorithms are there in order to implement the symmetric key encryption technique. Now we are supposed to use a cryptographic primitive. What is cryptographic primitive here? So symmetric ciphers are commonly used to achieve other cryptographic primitives. Now what is basically cryptographic primitives? Like they are well-established low-level cryptographic algorithms that are frequently used to build cryptographic protocols for computer security system, and these routines include but are not limited to one-way hash functions and encryption functions. So they are just cryptographic primitives than just encryption. So encrypting a message does not guarantee that it will remain unchanged while encrypted. So hence a message authentication code. Now what is basically message authentication code? It is known as tag, or it is the short piece of information that is used to authenticate a message, or in other words, to confirm that the message came from the stated sender and has not been changed. So the MAC value protects the message data integrity, and it is added to the ciphertext to ensure that the changes to the ciphertext will be noted by the receiver message authentication code and can be constructed from the AEAD cipher. So what is basically AEAD cipher? That is authenticated encryption and authenticated encryption with associated data. Again, I am repeating, authenticated encryption and authenticated encryption with associative data. So these are the forms of encryption which simultaneously assure the confidentiality and authenticity of the data. However, symmetric ciphers cannot be used for non-repudiation purposes. So what is basically non-repudiation purposes? It could refer to a situation where a statement's author cannot successfully dispute its authorship or the validity of an associated contract. So the term is often seen in a legal setting when the authenticity of a signature is being challenged, and in such an instance, the authenticity is being seen here. So the purpose is, what is the purpose? We are supposed to use non-repudiation purposes except by the involving additional parties. Next is another application is to build hash functions from block cipher. So what is basically hash function? What is basically hash function? So hash function, as the name implies, it is a function that can be used to map data of arbitrary size to a fixed size values. So the values returned by the hash functions are called hash values or hash codes or digest or simple hashes. And the values are usually used to index a fixed size table called a hash table. Now what is basically hash table? In computing, a hash table is a data structure that implements an associative array, abstract data type, or a structure that can map keys to values. So a hash table uses a hash function to compute an index called the hash code into an array of buckets or slots from which the desired value can be found. So use of hash function to index a hash table is called hashing or scatter storage addressing. So have a look at the same. I can show you the example here. This is the hash function that I am discussing about. So a hash function, you can have a look at the keys that could map names to integers from 0 to 15. So there is a collision between keys John Smith and Sandra D. So there is a collision. Like two keys are referring to the same hashes, that is 0, 2. So there is a collision between two hashes. So use of a hash function to index a hash table, it is called hashing or scatter storage addressing. So hash functions and their associated hash tables, they are used in data storage and retrieval applications to access data in a small and nearly constant time per interval. So it could require an amount of storage space only fractionally that is greater than the total space that is required for the data or record themselves. In addition, hashing is computationally and storage space efficient form of the data access that avoids the non-linear access time of ordered and unordered lists and structured trees, and the often exponential storage requirements of direct access of the state spaces of large or variable length keys. So in addition, use of hash functions relies on statistical properties of the key and function interaction, like worst case behavior is intolerably bad with a vanishingly small probability, and average case behavior can be nearly optimal, that is minimum collision will be there, and I have already shown you the example of the minimal collision. So hash functions are related to or often confused with checksums. So what is basically checksum? It is a small size block of data that is derived from another block of digital data for the purpose of detecting errors that may have been introduced during its transmission or storage. So by themselves, checksums are often used to verify data integrity but are not relied upon to verify data authenticity. Next is check digits. So it is the form of redundancy check that is used for error detection on identification number, such as bank account numbers, which are used in an application where they will at least sometimes be input manually. So it is analogous to a binary parity bit that is used to check for errors in computer generated data. Next is fingerprints. As the name implies, fingerprint. It is an algorithm or it is a procedure that maps an arbitrarily large data item to a much shorter bit string and its fingerprint that uniquely identifies the original data for all practical purposes, just as human fingerprints uniquely identify people for practical purposes. Next is lossy compression. In information technology, lossy compression or irreversible compression is the class of data encoding methods that uses inexact appropriation or approximations and partial data discarding to represent the content. And these techniques are used to reduce data size for storing, handling, and transmitting content of the data. Next is randomization. So what is basically randomization? In computer science, randomization function of randomizing function, it is an algorithm or a procedure that implements a randomly chosen function between two specific sets that are suitable for use in a randomized algorithm. Next is error detecting codes. In computing, telecommunication, information theory, and coding theory, an error correction code or error correcting code, ECC, it is used for controlling errors in data over unreliable or noisy communication channels, and the central idea is the sender encodes the message with particular thing. Next is cipher. Cipher mean to say like it is an algorithm for performing encryption or decryption. So a series of well-defined steps that can be followed as a procedure, and an alternative less common term is encipherment. So to encipher or encode is to convert information into ciphertext, that is the scrambled text. So although the concepts overlap to some extent, each one of it has its own uses and requirements, and it is designed and optimized differently. So the hash function differ from the concepts numbered mainly in terms of data integrity. So it could take an input as a key which is associated with a datum or record and used to identify it to the data storage and retrieval application. So in addition, the keys may be of fixed length like integer, variable length like a name, or in some cases the key is the datum itself. So the output is the hash code that is used to index a hash table holding the data or records or pointers to them, like we are already seeing in the example. We are using pointers here. So a hash function may be considered to perform mainly three functions. So what are those three functions? Let's have a look at the same. That is, it could convert a variable length keys into fixed length values by folding them by words or by other units using the parity preserving operator like add or XOR. In addition, scramble the bits of the key so that the resulting values are uniformly distributed over the key space. Next, map the key values into ones less than or equal to the size of the table. So a good hash function satisfies two basic properties. That is, it should be very fast to compute. It should minimize duplication of the output values. Hash function rely on generating favorably probability distribution for their effectiveness, reducing access time to nearly constant. High table loading factors, pathological key sets, and poorly designed hash functions can result in access times that is approaching linear in the number of items that are there in the table. So hash functions can be designed to give the best worst case performance as we already dealing with. So good performance under high table loading factors, and in special cases perfect collision less mapping of keys into the hash code. So implementation is based on parity preserving bit operations like XOR and AND gate could be used that are used to specify the functions like multiply or divide. So a necessary adjunct to the hash function is the collision resolution method that employs an auxiliary data structure like linked list or systematic probing of the table to find an empty slot. Next is what is basically hash table. So hash functions are used in conjunction with hash table that are used to store or retrieve data items or data records. So the hash function translates the key associated with each data or record into a hash code, which is used to index the hash table. So when an item is to be added to the table, the hash code may index an empty slot, also called a bucket, in which case the item is added to the table there. So if the hash code indexes a full slot, some kind of collision resolution is required and the new item may be omitted, that is not added to the table, or replace the old item, or it can be added to the table in some other location by specified procedure. So that procedure depends on the structure of the hash table, like we have already discussed. So in chained hashing, because there are certain types of hashing techniques that we are going to use. In chained hashing, each slot is the head of the linked list or chain, and the items that collide at the slot are added to the chain. So chain may be kept in random order and searched linearly or in serial order or as a self-ordering list by frequency to speed up access. So in open addressing hashing, the table is probed starting from the occupied slot in the specified manner. So usually by linear probing, quadratic probing, or double hashing until an open slot is located or the entire table is probed, that is overflow. So searching for the item follows the same procedure until the item is located. So an open slot is found or the entire table has been searched, that is item is not in the table. So this is all about hash function that we are going you use this operation in symmetric encryption technique. So next is like implementation. We have already discussed like AES or DES could be used for the implementation. Next is use as a cryptographic primitive. So we have already discussed about the hash functions here. Next is construction of the symmetric ciphers, how we can construct symmetric ciphers. So many modern block ciphers are based on the construction proposed by the Feastel. So Feastel constructions make it possible to build invertible functions from other functions that are themselves not invertible. So security for symmetric ciphers, like symmetric ciphers have historically been susceptible to non-plain text attack. Now what is non-plain text attack? It is an attack model for cryptanalysis where the attacker has access to both plain text and its encrypted version, that is ciphertext. So these can be used to reveal further secret information such as secret keys or code books. Next is chosen plain text attacks. CPA. It is an attack model for cryptanalysis which presumes that the attacker can obtain the ciphertext for arbitrary plain text. So the goal of the attack is to gain information that reduces the security of the encryption scheme. Next is differential crypt analysis. We have discussed a lot about the same. Now I am telling you the same. It is the general form of crypt analysis that is applicable mainly to block ciphers, but also to stream ciphers and cryptographic hash functions. So in the broad set sense, it is the study of how differences in information input can affect the resultant difference at the output. And linear cryptanalysis, like opposite, it is the general form of cryptanalysis that is based on finding affine approximations to the action of the cipher attack that have been developed for block ciphers and stream ciphers. So linear cryptanalysis is one of the two most widely used attacks on block ciphers. So there could be careful construction of the function for each round that can greatly reduce the chances of the successful attack. So next we are supposed to deal with the key management here. As the name implies, key management. We are supposed to manage the key. So how we are supposed to manage the key that we are going to use? So it refers to the cryptographic keys that we are going to use in the crypto system. So this could include dealing with the generation, exchange, storage, use, or crypto shredding, that is destruction, and replacement of the keys. In addition, it could include cryptographic protocols, designs, key servers, user procedures, and other relevant protocols. So key management concerns keys at the user level, either between users or the systems. So this is in contrast to key scheduling. What is basically key scheduling? So in because we are dealing in cryptography, so every term is associated with the cryptography here or in computing. So the so-called product cipher are a certain kind of cipher where the deciphering of the data, like we are supposed to deduce the text. So it is typically done as an iteration of the round. And the setup for each round is generally the same except for the round specific fixed values called a round constant. Now here what we are dealing with PC1, PC2, PC3 as we have dealt in the DES, like permuted choice 1, permuted choice 2, permuted choice 3. Because after performing the permuted choice, we are supposed to shrink the keys. Like if it is 56 bit, then after PC1 it is converted to 48 bit. If it is PC2, we are supposed to apply on 48 bits, then it is converted into the 40 bits. So in that manner, 8 keys will be lost during transmission. So it is typically referring to the internal handling of the keys within the operation of the cipher. So successful key management is critical to the security of the crypto system. So it is more challenging side of cryptography because in a sense that it involves aspects of social engineering such as a system policy, user training, organizational and departmental interaction, and coordination between all of these elements. So, in contrast to pure mathematical practices that can be automated. Next is various types of keys that we are going to use. Various types of keys that we are going to use, that is types of keys. So cryptographic system may use different types of keys with some systems using more than one. So these may include symmetric keys, asymmetric keys. If we are dealing with the symmetric key algorithm, then keys involved are identical for both encrypting and decrypting a message. So key must be chosen carefully and distributed and stored securely. But if we are talking about asymmetric keys, on the other hand, then it also known as public key. So in contrast, there are two distinct keys that are mathematically linked. So they are typically used together to communicate. So public key infrastructure, that is PKI, the implementation of the public key cryptography, it could require an organization to establish an infrastructure to create and manage public and private key pairs along with the digital signature. So next is how to establish key establishment. So symmetric key algorithms require both sender and the recipient of the message to have the same secret key. All early cryptographic systems required either the sender or the recipient to somehow receive a copy of that secret key over a physically secure channel. So nearly all modern cryptographic systems still use symmetric key algorithms internally to encrypt the bulk of the messages, but they eliminate the need for a physically secure channel by using Diffie-Hellman exchange algorithm or some other public key protocols to securely come to agreement on a fresh new secret key for each session or conversation, that is the forward secrecy. So next is a term that is associated with key generation. So this is the model and these are the requirements. That is two requirements for the secure use of symmetric encryption: a strong encryption algorithm and a secret key known only to the sender and the receiver. So mathematically there is a formula that is given for encryption and decryption. Have a look at the same. If we are using encryption, then it could be having a formula y is equal to encryption that could be applied on x, and x is equal to decryption with the key that could be applied on y. So assume encryption algorithm is known and it could imply a secure channel to distribute the keys. So next is what is basically cryptography. What is basically cryptography? So we are supposed to characterize cryptographic system by type of the encryption operation used. For example, like we are using substitution technique, we are using transposition technique, or we are performing the Cartesian product. So what is the technique, underlying technique that is used for the encryption operation, that could be mentioned here. In addition, there is the point that is associated with number of keys that could be used. So what are the number of keys that could be used for the encryption or decryption? So we are supposed to deal with the same. So let's say it is a single key or a private key, or two keys in which we are supposed to use private key as well as public key. So third is way in which the plain text is processed, like it is based on the block or cipher, or it is based on the stream cipher. So we have discussed both the techniques. Whatever the way we are using, like if we are using block stream or if we are using stream cipher, we are supposed to mention the same. Like if we are using DES, then we are concerned with the block cipher technique. And nowadays, block cipher technique is being used. Next is cryptanalysis. What is basically cryptanalysis? That is the objective to recover key, not just the message. Objective to recover the key, not just the message. So there are certain two approaches that are associated with the same. That is cryptanalytic approach and brute force attack. So there are two types of techniques that could be used for the same. So first one is cryptanalysis attack. So if I am talking about cryptanalysis attack, it is dealing with ciphertext only. Why it is dealing with ciphertext only? Because it could only know the algorithm and ciphertext, because it is statistical, and it could know and can identify the plain text. Second is non-plain text. We can know or suspect plain text and ciphertext. Third is chosen plain text. Select the plain text and obtain the ciphertext. Next is chosen ciphertext. Select the ciphertext and obtain the plain text. Next is chosen text, that is select plain text or ciphertext to encrypt or decrypt the same. So these are the terms that are associated with how to analyze the cryptic or crypted text. In addition, there could be more definitions that could be associated with the same. Have a look at the same. That is unconditional security and computational security. So what is basically unconditional security and what is basically computational security here? So if I am dealing with unconditional security, then there is a term that is associated with the same. We are supposed to refer to the same. That is, no matter how much computer power or time is available, the cipher cannot be broken, since the ciphertext provides insufficient information to uniquely determine the corresponding plain text. Next is computational security. Given limited computing resources, for example, time needed for calculations is greater than the age of universe, so the ciphertext cannot be broken. So this is all about cryptanalysis attack. If you are having any question regarding same, you can ask me. Have a look at all the slides that have been discussed so far. I'm giving you a time of 1 minute. Next is brute force search. What is basically brute force search? That is, there are three terms associated with the same. That is, it is always possible to simply try every key that we are going to use. In addition, it is the most basic attack that is proportional to the key size. It's example. You can take example of this is our cipher as well. It could either assume that either we know or recognize the plain text by using various keys. Next is classical substitution cipher. So what is basically classical substitution cipher? So these are the substitution techniques that we are going to use, or we are going to apply keys on the plain text so that it could not be easily broken by the violator. So there are certain terms that are associated with classical substitution cipher. So first one is where letter of the plain text are replaced by other letters or by numbers or by symbols. And next is, so if plain text is viewed as a sequence of bits, then substitution involves replacing plain text bit patterns with ciphertext bit pattern. So here is the example for the classical substitution cipher, that is Caesar cipher. So it is the earliest known substitution cipher developed by Julius Caesar, first attested use in military affairs. Now it could replace each letter by the third letter. For example, like if I am using ABC, so A could be replaced by BC, DEC will be my Caesar cipher or cipher text after performing the Caesar cipher, because it is using three shift. So let's like there are 26 characters in the alphabet, and each character could be denoted by numeric character as well. Like A could be represented by 0, 1 could be represented by B. So in the same manner, there could be 26 characters, but 0 to 25 could be the counting for the same. So in addition, we are supposed to use modulus of 26. But let's say we are supposed to have a look at the example here that is given here. Meet me after the toga party. So this is the plain text that is given to us. Just wait. This is the plain text that is given to us. And we are supposed to deal with the output. So we are supposed to use the output here by using third letters on the plain text. We are supposed to use third shift key. M, N, O, leave the NO and it will be represented by P. E will be represented by H. Again there is a G, it will be represented by H. So meet will be represented by P, H, H, W. Next is M and E. Again M and E. Again M will be represented by P, E will be represented by H. So ME will be represented with the help of PH. Next is after, AFTER. A will be represented by D, F will be represented by I, T will be represented by W, E will be represented by H, and R will be represented by U. Next is the. So T will be represented by T, UV, leave UV, then it will be represented by W, H will be represented by K, and E will be represented by K. So the will be represented with the help of WKH. Same toga, TOGA. So T will be represented by W, O will be represented by R, G will be represented by J, and A will be represented by D. So toga will be represented by W, R, J, and D. Next is party. P will be represented by S, A will be represented by D, R is the S, R will be replaced by U, and T will be replaced by W, and Y will be replaced by B. So party will be replaced by S, D, U, W, B. So this will be my cipher text that is deduced from this plain text by using three letters ahead on the alphabets. M will be represented 3 letters ahead with the help of P, E will be represented H. In the same manner, all the characters will be represented in the same manner and they will be replaced accordingly. So this is the basic function of this Caesar cipher. Now have a look at the same. So there is a mathematical interpretation for the same. Just have a look at the same. So we can define transformation as A will be represented by D. This is the whole representation for all the characters that could be Caesar ciphered. So A will be D, B will be E, C will be F, and D will be replaced by G. In the last H, Z will be replaced by AB, leave AB in between and C. So mathematically give each letter a number, that is A will be, as I told you earlier, A to Z, 0 to 25 will be there. So A will be represented by 0, B will be by 1, C will be by 2, and D will be by 3. In the end, Z will be by 25. Now we are having formula for the same, that is Caesar cipher. So what is the formula for the same? C is equal to, that is cipher text. Cipher text is having the formula how we are supposed to deduce the cipher text. It is equal to encryption of the plain text, which is equal to P plus K. K means to say key, P means to say any plain text that could be used, plus key, 3 shifts are using, into modulus of 26. Why we are using modulus of 26? Because these are 26 letters. These are 26 letters. So that is why we are using modulus of 26 here. So C is equal to encryption of the plain text, which is equal to P plus K plain text plus key into modulus of 26. That would be my ciphertext. So in the same manner, if I am supposed to deal with the plain text, that is decryption procedure, let me write it here. It is the encryption process. This is the decryption process. So what is there inside the decryption process? Have a look at the same. Plain text, we are supposed to deal with the plain text here. Plain text is equal to decryption of the ciphertext, which is equal to ciphertext minus key into modulus of 26. So this would be my formula for decrypting the plain text by using key. So encryption is by using encryption formula, and decryption is proceed with the help of the decryption formula. So these are the two formulas that could be used for encryption and decryption. So in that manner, it would be easy for us to deduce the same. So there are certain steps that are given here. Only have 26 possible ciphers because A to Z are there, and we could simply try each in turn, a brute force search. A given ciphertext, just try all the shifts. Now what is meant by all the shift? If we are using one shift, then A will be replaced by B. If we are using two shifts, then A will be replaced by C. If we are using three shifts, then A will be replaced by D. If we are using 26 shift, then A will be represented by Z. So in the same manner, we are supposed to try each and every shift of the letter. So given ciphertext, just try all the shifts of the letter, and we are supposed to recognize when we are having plain text. For example, you are supposed to break the ciphertext. This is given GCUA VQ DT GCM. So we are supposed to break the same. We are supposed to convert it into meaningful plain text by trying all the possible shifts that could be there. By trying until we get the meaningful plain text that could be deducted from the same. So in that manner, we are supposed to perform the Caesar cipher technique to all the alphabets that are given to us, or to all the sentences that are given to us, because we will be providing with the ciphertext, and we are supposed to deal with the ciphertext by applying all the techniques, by applying all the shifts that could be possible to deal with the same. So this was all about Caesar cipher. Next is mono alphabetical cipher. Mono, as the name implies, we are supposed to perform one shift of the character. Rather than shifting the alphabet, we could jumble the letters arbitrarily. Mean to say, we are supposed to convert the letters randomly, like ABCD is converted into D, K, B, B, this one. So hence the key could be 26 letters long. So this is the main thing. In mono alphabetic cipher, the key is 26 letters long. It could be any random text. Let's say we are having a plain text. This is the ciphertext that is randomly generated in the same. So this was all about Caesar cipher and mono alphabetical cipher. In addition, we have discussed about hashing and symmetric cipher techniques, asymmetric cipher techniques, various examples, key management. So this was all about same. So if you are having any query, you can ask me any question. I'm giving you a time of 1 minute. So next, a reference book is available in the college library. It is the book by William Stalling. Have a look at the same and get it issued from the library. It is available in our college library, a book by William Stallings. And there is a 10 MCQs that are given here. You are supposed to submit the answers at the end of the class. Each question is having 4 choices, and you are supposed to take any one. So these are the 10 questions. Have a look at the same. This was all about my today's class. If you are having any query, you can ask me any question. Thank you. Have a nice day.